Hello YouTube, psytrance here. Today I will do a synthesizer tutorial. I did promise this tutorial many months ago, and here I am today doing it finally. The first reason why I'm doing this is because I am tired to have the same sounds over and over again in every single track I listen to. So you know what I mean here? The Nexus patches, the classic Vanguard patches for transit sounds, you know. So I hope you guys will start creating your own patches for your music, and if you already do it, I hope I will help you improving them. This is quite an advanced tutorial. I will not show simple stuff. Actually, it's not a tutorial in which you will learn how to do a specific sound. It is a tutorial to learn you how the synth works. So for the purpose of this video, I will be using Nordlead 2X by Clavia. I think it's a really good synth to use for a tutorial like this one because it features an FM knob and it also features a ring modulation. Not every art synth have those features, but many VST does. So let's begin. So first of all, let's begin with what I think is the simplest part of the synth, but one of the most important, the amplifier. Why is it important? Okay, the amplifier is where you will decide exactly what you want to do. Do you want to make a bass sound? Do you want to make a pad, a lead synth? The amplifier is the first thing to do when you want to do such a sound. In cases of bass sounds which are normally short sounds, you do the amplifier section after, because it's quite difficult to really create a sound if you have like half a second to hear it when you press a key. So how the amplifier works is very simple. You have 4 knobs: attack, decay, sustain, release, and a 5th one, which is gain. In the case of the Nordlead, gain will be the volume of the patch itself, but Nordlead features an A, B, C, D patch system. I don't know how to say that in English. I'm sorry, I'm French Canadian, so I'm doing my best here. So yeah, you can, what I mean is you can play 4 patches at the same time. So the Nordlead also features a master level knob, so that's logical. So yeah, we'll get back to amplifier. So yeah, the gain will be the volume, the max volume of the patch. So your first knob on the left, the attack, is actually see it as a time knob. Attack, decay, and release are time knobs, and sustain is a volume knob. And you will understand what I mean here. The attack is how much time it takes to get to the decay, and decay is actually the max sound output. It is actually equal to the gain. So your maximum output is the gain, and the decay is how much time would it take to the gain before it goes to our next knob, the sustain. The sustain is the volume after the decay. If you put it to the maximum, it will be equal to the gain, and you can go lower than the gain. And then when you release your note, your key on the keyboard, we call this the release. So you have a release knob, which is actually how much time it takes to fade out. So that's it. This is the amplifier. And by the way, attack, decay, sustain, release, those 4 knobs together create an envelope. And every envelope acts the same. We will see that later in the filter section. The filter actually features an envelope. Next is the heart of the synth. There is where the sound is created. We call this section the Oscilators section. The Nordley features 2 oscillators. The first one you can't change is his tune, simply because you want your keyboard to be in tune, so it is logical that the first oscillators can't tune it, you know. In case of analog synths, you could, because analog synths tend to go out of tune, like a guitar, you know, goes out of tune. But here we have an Nordley which is numeric. It is a computer, first of all, so you don't have this problem. And by the way, just cool fact, a good virtual analog synthesizer like the Nordley will recreate the out of tune things if you ask him to do it. And there is a good algorithm behind it which recreates this out of tune a bit, so you get a more analog sound, a more real sound of the good old days, if I might say. So okay, let's get back to the oscillators. So first one, simple, you choose your wave and you're done. So in case of the Nordley, sine, triangle, sawtooth, or square. Again, in the case of the Nordley, square isn't actually a square, it is a pulse wave that is controlled with the pulse width. And the pulse width at its minimum value will be a square, and at its maximum value it will be a really little pulse. So that's pretty cool if you want to do a sound with not much bass, very static highs. 2 square waves together will be very static. If you take a square with a triangle, you'll get a fatter static sound. So just tips here to guide you in your creation. By the way, while I'm doing this right now, I will do the other one too. If you want a good bass, you go with a sawtooth. And then it depends what you really want. I mean, sawtooths are used a lot also for lead sound. You can use a square to do that too. With a simple sine wave, you can create some cool pads, cool hairy pads, not sharp. So yeah. For the second oscillators, we have a semitone control. This is simple. It's the tuning of your oscillators. So the reason we have this is to give something more to the first oscillator. You know, having the exact same wave together isn't interesting at all. Most of the time you will take your second oscillator to do 1 octave below the first one, so you get something that has a much more rich sound. Then we have the fine tune. Fine tune is like the semitone but much more precise. The semitone always stay in tune. What I mean here is you go up and down on the keyboard as you turn this knob, while the fine tune is really more precise. It doesn't go up a note, it just go around the note you are on. And this creates what I was talking about, which is the analog feeling of two oscillators that are in tune perfectly. So this is how you set your oscillators. The Nord lead features a keyboard track button. Keyboard track, when is on, the second oscillator will follow the notes you play on the keyboard, which is what you want to do almost every time. You can ask him to not do so and always do the exact same sound, the exact same note wherever you will play on the keyboard. This can be interesting if you do percussions or stuff like that. When you want, for example, your kick to don't follow the notes. You know, you want it to be the exact same wherever you press a note. So yeah, just a little features to do percussions and other stuff. By the way, the Nordley features not exactly the same waveform as the first oscillators. The Nordley, for its second oscillators, features a noise also that can go in pads and stuff like that. Okay, next we have the mix knob. Mix knob is simple. If you put it on the left, you only hear the first oscillator, on the right the second one, in the middle 50-50 for the first and the second. The Nord lead features an FM amount. FM stands for frequency modulation. How this works is when you play a note, you hear your sound normally. If you turn up the FM amount, your sound will be modulated in terms of pitch by the second oscillator. So if you have a sawtooth, you will hear your sound and pitch go up and down, up and down, up and down, which is the sawtooth form here. Here is an example. So as you can hear there, your sound is just modified in term of pitch. Next, we have the ring modulation. The ring modulation is actually a multiplication between our first oscillator and the second. So the way it works is on the Nord lead actually. When you play a note, the output of the second oscillator is multiplied by the first oscillators. And if you put your mix in the middle, you hear your original first oscillator and your modified second oscillator. Let's hear an example. Next, we have our filter section. Filter section at first is simple, but can get a bit complex. So you already know it. In the filter section, you have the frequency knob. Don't need to explain how it works. Frequency knob. Resonance. Resonance is actually feedback created in the filter. So if, let's say, I put my filter in the middle, I don't know by heart what value it is, but let's say it's the 1K frequency value. And if I put resonance, it's create a feedback, and the 1K, 1 kilohertz will be boosted. And if I put too much resonance, I could play like a C note, and just because I will put the filter on a frequency of A note, I could hear an A note by playing a C note, and I could hear an A note everywhere on the keyboard. Those I think are called feedback notes, or I don't know, there's a term for those notes that happen by doing resonance. So be careful with that. Can sound cool sometimes, not always. It will also depend on what you're playing actually, what scale you're playing, and what chords you're playing. A tip right there, you may already know it. If you want to do an acid sound, the Nordly isn't actually awesome for that. I did use it to do some. It creates something really unique, but you can't get this real old school kind of acid sound. But on our synths, you simply use your resonance. You put a lot of resonance, and you put some distortion over your output, and you get that really cool acid sound that I can't really show with Nord, since the Nord is like too sharp. You buy a Nordly because you want a really sharp sound, and by having that you can't do this old school acid sound, but you can do something quite unique that I did use in productions a few months ago. Actually, I will do a little ad here, but if you listen to my track Lights Off on the Lights On EP, near the end of the track you have a lot of this kind of acid sound in the background. So in the really last part of the track, the big part, you hear this turn knob just after the resonance. This one's called envelope mount. This is how much you want the envelope of the filter to act on your filter, and the envelope is right above it. And again, we have an attack, decay, sustain, release kind of envelope. So once again, it doesn't change at all. Attack, decay, release are time knobs, while sustain is a volume knob. But let's call it a value knob in this case. You will understand why. The attack will be how much time to the filter it takes to get to go. So if I have my frequency to the very bottom and the attack to the very top, it will take a long time before my filter gets all the way up. And then you have the decay, which is the time it will take to the filter to go to the sustain. And the sustain is, in this case, as I said earlier, is a value knob. It is a new value of frequency. And then you have a release, which is going back down. In the case of the Nord lead, the envelope amount can be influenced by the velocity of your playing. So as simple as that. No need to explain more, I think. There is a keyboard track on this keyboard. That means the frequency knob will go up as you play higher on the keyboard, and will go to its normal place as you play down on the keyboard. That is because on some of your sounds, if you don't have keyboard track on, your filter will be so down that when you play up keys, you will hear no notes at all. So you want your frequency knobs to be a bit higher, and keyboard track feature do that for you. The Nord features a distortion, not big deal. It adds a bit of something, gets your sound a bit more static, but it's no near a real distortion pedal, so please buy a distortion pedal or use something like Guitar Rig. And you have filter types. That is quite simple. I mean, high pass filter, low pass filter, notch. So no need to explain. I think it's normal filter. The Nord lead doesn't features really cool filters like the Nord lead 3 did, or like you will find on a Virus TI. Virus TI has much more complex filters. Nord lead 2 has simple filters. Okay, next we have the LFO section, low frequency oscillator. What this does is making your sound alive. Your sound will move, and that's what you want. You don't want something static, monotone, that is boring. You want something that moves, especially for lead sound and pads. Basses, don't put LFO on that, unless you want to do something special, but if you want typical psytrance bass, don't do this. Let's stay monotone, that's the purpose of a bass. And anyway, to have a LFO on a low frequency sound isn't a really good idea. Or you will need to mix that, you will need to cut the lows after. That the reason is simple. And when you work with high frequency sounds, you have a lot of frequency value. I mean, your sound sounds quite the same from 1 kHz to 2 kHz. You have quite the same sound, and you have 1000 Hz between. When you work with lows, you have, for example, 60 Hz to 70 Hz. Those sounds as much different as 1 kilo to 2 kilo, but this time we only have 10 values between. So simple to understand why we want it to be monotone. How LFO works, you have a rate knob and amount knob. The rate will be how fast the oscillators, the low frequency oscillators, will go. The amount will be how much it will affect your sound. And you could say, why don't we use LFOs to do FM amount? Because on an LFO, if you look carefully, you will see you can actually change the pitch of your oscillators, which is what the FM amount does. Reason is simple. LFO is low frequency oscillator, while the FM amount goes freaking fast. An LFO could not go as fast as an FM knob. So that's why you have the FM and LFOs and use those as two separate things. LFOs are really to do a slow kind of morphing in your sound. And I know I'm not using the word morph in a good way, but you get my point. It just changes slowly your sound. Or the Nord lead, you can choose between a random sine wave kind of LFO, a triangle, a square, sawtooth, and a random square. See this as how the value of the effect will change, and your effect can be FM amount, so it will use the oscillator's built-in FM, and what will happen is your FM knob will be going from left to right, right to left with the LFO wave that you have chose. So if you take the square wave in your LFO and put it on the FM, your FM goes up and down. So we can choose between FM, oscillator 1 and 2 pitch, oscillator 2 pitch, filter, and pulse width. Pulse width, remember, is for the pulse wave on your oscillators. On left you have square, on right you have a very thin pulse. Nord lead features a second LFO. Same thing as the first one, but this one can be an ARP. And I don't use this, but if you want to, simply press on ARP. Then you have a mode envelope. This is pretty cool. The mode envelope is, remember, an envelope starts when you press a key and stops when you release the key. Same thing happens here. Mode envelope will act on the master output. You can choose to have FM on this oscillator to pitch, or I should say pulse width. So it's like the LFO that we've seen, but this time it's in an envelope. So again, you have attack decay, you have no release, so this one will act only on when you press a key, and then the envelope will stop. So again, the attack is how much time it takes to your effect to get into your sound. Decay is how much time it will take to your effect to get out of your sound. Amount is how much it will act on your sound. So let's say I choose FM, I will play a key and there will be a lot of FM, and then the FM will go away. So here's an example. In this case, the amount is at 0 when it is at 50% of the knob. So what does this mean is if I go down, I have a minus value, and it's pretty cool if you want to work with the pulse width, for example, and your pulse is all the way up and you want, when you press a note, to go all the way down and go right back all the way up. So that's it for the LFOs in mode envelope, and that's pretty much it also for the synthesizer in general. So I don't think it was really complex at all, and now you know how to use a synth, and that's it. Now you can't stop using patches and use your own sound. So I'll end this video with a simple I will just play some of my sounds so you can hear what you can do. So thanks for watching this, and thanks for the people who listens to my music and like my music, and see you later.